Hello, good morning and good evening, Mr. X's class. I'm here to talk about the word deduce. I actually made another video this morning, but it had some mistakes in it, so I'm making another one to correct those. So deduce is a verb, and it means, according to our definition on the card, to form an opinion about something based on the information or evidence that is available. So that's the general way we use it, like in everyday life. It means you have evidence or information. Based on that evidence or information, you reach a conclusion. You figure out that something is true. So in everyday life, we could use it in a way like this. From the wet pavement, if the sidewalk is wet outside or something, so imagine you're inside the mall, you come outside, the ground is wet. If there's wet pavement, from the wet pavement we can deduce that it rained while we were in the mall. So that's using the evidence, things that we saw, to show, to reach a conclusion, to decide what happened. But I gave some people incorrect information this morning about one other thing, which is actually from quarter 2 curriculum, what's called inductive and deductive reasoning. So when in what's called informal logic, or you could also say in rhetoric, which is like formally studying arguments, it has a little bit different meaning. So in formal logic, the word deduction like the word deduce, is when you make an argument that's based on rules that are already given to you, and it's not based on evidence of like things you see or things that you notice or something like that, which is the opposite of what I said this morning, and I apologize to my students for that, but that's actually the case. So in formal logic, deduction is based on rules. So for example, formal logic, we can deduce that class will start at 9:05. Why? Because there's a rule. We know that we can look at the bell schedule. The bell schedule says for AM, class starts at 9:05, period 2. So we know that from the bell schedule. That's like a rule that's already established. So we use that rule to say what's going to happen. That's different from what I said with like the wet pavement, because the wet pavement is like you look at something, you see what's going on, and then you reach a conclusion based on that. So that kind of thing, like the wet pavement, we use the word deduce for that in regular life, regular situations. But formal logic, that is technically not deduction, because deduction is only based on rules. So the making conclusions from evidence, in formal logic what we do is we call that induction, not deduction. That's another word, induction. So you got a bunch of evidence, you look at what's going on, and then you make a conclusion. That's induction in formal logic, or inductive reasoning. But I know it gets confusing. We use the word deduce. If we're not doing formal logic or formal rhetoric, we use the word deduce in a less strict way. So we can use it for like evidence. So here's the sentence that you're going to copy on the back of your card. It says, in the mystery genre, the detective often deduces who the killer is by using evidence found at the scene of the crime. So, so in the everyday definition, we say, okay, we use evidence to reach a conclusion. Yeah, we can say deduce for that. But in formal logic, that is not deduction. Because why? Because it's not based on a rule. Deduction is based on a rule, like that's already set up. Like I said, like the bell schedule is kind of a rule that's already there. It's not based on observation of anything. It's like we already know this is the rule. So this would not be deduction according to formal logic. It would be induction or inductive reasoning, because it's based on evidence that you found. And again, after this morning, I looked and I realized that that was true, that I actually gave some wrong information to my AM class, so I apologize for that. Let's go over the rest of the stuff up here. So in Spanish, deduce is deducir. Word families, deduced is an adjective and deducing can be an adjective. So like deduced could be like the deduced facts or something like that, describing a fact. Deducing maybe could be the person. He's the deducing person. He's the one who deduces. And then deduction can mean this, the process of deducing, of forming an opinion. As I said, in formal logic, it's using rules to reach a conclusion. Deduction can also go together with deduct, though, which is another meaning. It's a word family, but it's really pretty different, because deduct means subtract, and it can mean like in a bank account or something. If you pay something, then they deduct it from your bank account and it goes down. Or you talk about tax deductions, which is that's a good thing, right? If you get tax deductions, you pay lower taxes, because they say they subtract that amount from your tax and you don't have to pay it. So it's subtracting something. The verb to deduct. So deduction can be the process of forming a conclusion or an opinion. Deduction can also mean the process of subtracting That's like a tax deduction when you subtract from your taxes. All right, synonyms, figure out or understand. I'd like to add the word conclude because I think that's another way to say deduce in the sense of figuring out. And antonyms we have on the card is scramble and mix up, which I guess is like because it's to make something less, more difficult to understand. So that's that. Here you have examples. And as I said, see, there's different example with formal logic or other situations. So in formal logic, it's a more narrow, I guess I'd say it's a more narrow definition. So that would still be deduction in everyday life. Both of them would work, right? But in formal logic, only sentence 1, not sentence 2. Okay, and that sentence over there, as I said again, is not the meaning of deduct or deductive reasoning in formal logic. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.